I think they will rue the day that they came out with this phrase work.
Starmer's credibility has dropped to zero. He constantly lies and blames the opposition for the fact that everything is very bad in every area of the country. His blatant lies were again exposed by experts. Today we're breaking the latest news, so we're starting to watch the first scene.
What do they mean by a working person? You see, this is a class war issue with Labour. Let's make no bones about this. This is exactly where they're at on this. No, we didn't mean all working people. We just meant, a certain amount of working people. Just some working people, not all working people. Right, OK. So who are the some working people that get a break and the other working people who are apparently surplus to requirements and will get a tax hike? 0344 499 1000. What is a working person then in their minds? I genuinely believe in that kind of Rayner-esque, Starmer-esque, Lammy-esque, Reeves-esque sort of way that it's that. They just sense it's about people who work in coal mines. Not about anyone else, just about that lot. I think they will rue the day that they came out with this phrase work.
He rejected claims that he was waging a war on the middle class after saying that shareholders and landowners were not working people. Rachel Reeves will introduce the biggest taxes in the last 3 decades, raising an additional £35 billion to increase our tax burden to record levels. The Labour manifesto stated that workers would be protected from price increases. But ministers have been arguing for months about how to define the term. Currently, employers pay insurance premiums of 13.8% of employees' salaries exceeding £9,100 per year. But firms do not pay social security contributions from the money they contribute to pension funds on behalf of their employees. The IFS previously proposed reforming the rule, calculating that if employers charged national insurance pension contributions of 13.8%, it could raise £17 billion a year. But there are concerns that firms will not be able to compensate for the additional costs, and as a result, pension funds will simply become smaller.
So we've got 2 big foreign policy things happening literally right now. We've got a US election and we've got reparations. And David Lammy has called the bloke who might be about to become the President of the United States again a neo-Nazi sympathising, woman-hating sociopath, and he's openly called for reparations like 8 times. Right? How can he be our foreign secretary?
He's not fit for office, is he?
Well, because I mean, a lot of people have said things about Trump when they're not in they're not in government, including Kamala Harris herself has called him a fascist this week.
But she's his opponent, and also she's a.
It's not a secret, particularly this week with our lovely volunteers there. Which party Labour supports in America?
That's what I think is the bigger issue. I actually think is political election interfering for one political party, particularly the party of government, to send its activists to campaign for somebody.
David Lammy has made an attempt to justify himself for insulting Donald Trump. Lammy has softened his stance on Trump a bit lately. During the interview, the presenter read out to Lammy a series of tweets that he had written to Trump. She asked him how he planned to establish a working relationship with Trump if these answers were used as a precedent. In response, Lammy tried to get away with saying that many politicians from both major parties had been equally dismissive of Trump during his time in the White House. Harris is trying to present Trump as a threat to democracy and the fundamental principles of American statehood in order to win over undecided voters, including Republicans. Harris sees that she is losing, so now she is increasing her rhetoric, going so far as to call him Hitler.
Well, let's think about what the Office for National Statistics thinks of a working person when they're telling us how many people are in work and how many people are unemployed. By their measure, a working person is someone who's not too young to work, someone who's not retired, someone who's not wholly living on benefits. It's somebody that has a job, contributes to the economy, and makes a living. They are the people who are economically active. Those who don't fall into that bracket are economically inactive, and we're having, unfortunately, a growing cohort of those numbers of people now. So this idea that certain people who do work for a living are not actually working people is not only bizarre, I think it's completely offensive.
Such wacky logic has already put Starmer in a difficult position when it comes to the difficult and seemingly impossible task of identifying who working people are. Angela Rayner suggested that working people could be defined as a group of people who failed under the last Conservative government. In fact, Starmer has hammered the last nail into the coffin of his party's previous policies. If you have invested in stocks or in rental properties, then you do not fit into the perceptions of this government. But it turns out that if you have enough free money to spend it on unforeseen expenses, then you are no longer a working person. This is so absurd and counterintuitive that it simply cannot be true.
How can you possibly say who's working and who's not? If you're not claiming benefits, if you're not retired, if you're in work, you're making a living, then you're a working person. And this idea that certain people don't fall into that bracket, be it because they're landlords or because they earn over £100,000 a year, which is another suggestion that Keir Starmer's made, is obscene and quite ridiculous, really, and offensive. And it's just a fudge to try and get past that manifesto pledge that Labour made that they would not raise taxes on working people. It's just a fudge to try and raise taxes, in particular to pay for their extortionate public sector pay rises. That's my view.
According to a well-known party sponsor, Starmer could not easily afford to return tens of thousands of pounds spent on free gifts. The Prime Minister's salary of £166,786 is not insanely large, and the amount he would have to pay back is very large, according to the millionaire. He also insisted that there was no corruption in the actions of Starmer, who took £32,000 from Lord Ali to buy clothes. His comments came after he agreed to refund £6,000 for free services he used after the election.
We don't have the water infrastructure we need to build the homes across the country that people want to see. As things stand, by the mid-2030s, we will start to run out of drinking water because in that decade, supply will not keep up with demand. Now, I don't want to get into the position of some Mediterranean countries where water is...
By the 2030s, the UK could face a significant shortage of drinking water unless urgent investments are made. His comments came amid proposals by water companies to increase bills by 84% by 2030, which he called unbearable. Without measures to improve water supply and infrastructure, the demand for drinking water may soon exceed supply, reflecting the problems faced by some Mediterranean countries. The government's response includes the largest audit of the water industry in the last 40 years, initiated after recent scandals related to sewage. The Commission, led by the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, will seek to bring order to the water industry, including passing a law prohibiting bonuses for managers of water management enterprises and criminalising large leaks.
How do you rate most politicians?
Talentless. That's
Why?
That's a nice word, because none of them, A, got any real life experience, and B, they don't know how to connect with people. None of them are very good in them, by far and large, good communicators. Look at David Lammy. He is an appalling foreign secretary.
Well, he's gone round accusing various world leaders
absolutely.
of
Trump's going to win in a couple of weeks' time. Whether we like it or not, I think it's indisputable, Trump's going to win.
Although he ruled out the possibility of nationalising the water sector, citing high costs, he pointed to regulatory shortcomings as the cause of the problem. The co-chair of the Green Party criticised the government's position, saying that water should be in public possession for the benefit of all and not for profit. Among other things, the lack of erudition became public knowledge. By participating in a TV game, he simply paralysed both the presenter and the audience with his answers. Such disgraces are not an exception for the Minister of Foreign Affairs, but the rule. In his opinion, for example, with the help of surgical manipulations and hormone therapy, men are able to acquire a cervix dot. But every time Lammy is rescued by the fact that in modern Britain, competence and professionalism have long been optional for the leadership of the country. What do you think about this video? Share your thoughts in the comments. See you.